This company's never been more profitable.
You mean hugely profitable?
I like it.
DavePorter.com presents The Profitable Cleaner, a podcast on commercial cleaning sales and entrepreneurship. The one podcast that's not afraid to discuss real sales strategies with real cleaning professionals that produce real profits and real results.
All right. What's up, profitable cleaners? I'm here with the man, the myth, the legend, Joey Hauss. Joey Hauss, welcome. How are you?
Thank you. I'm well. It's very exciting to be here. Excited to talk about breathing.
I know, right? Who sits down and just talks about breathing, right? But let me tell you guys who you guys have on the other side, because you guys are gonna see him here on the YouTube as well. WIM HOF instructor, black belt in jiu-jitsu, former Marine, most importantly, awesome partner to Lindsay, amazing man, and a brother in one of the masterminds that I'm part of. So I'm super excited to bring him. He introduced me literally on breathing. He showed me how to breathe. I know that sounds weird, but I'm gonna let you kick it off here, Joey. I mean, the people that listen to this are commercial cleaning business owners, entrepreneurs, right? So they're handling really big teams. They're out there literally cleaning, right? And they still have to run a business, be a parent, family member, so many things. I've heard the line, I feel like sometimes I can't breathe. That's why I'm super excited to have you. Would you mind sharing like where it all started? Tell them a little bit about us and why breathing?
Yeah. I mean, I guess like as you mentioned, all the different things between being a martial artist and being a Marine, just dealing with general stress in life. It's a very common thing, especially we live in the 21st century. We have all of the different things. You and I are talking in completely different things because we have the internet and all these amazing technologies, yet at the same time, people are more stressed now than ever. And it's why? Why are these different things? A lot of it's mental. There's also a lot of it that's physiological. A lot of us don't realize that we are a lot more sedentary than our ancestors were. We sit a lot. If you're a regular person, if you're an entrepreneur and you're working a lot, we're the only kind of part of our species. We're the only element of our ancestors that like, oh, I work hard every day, but me working hard means I'm doing this all day. And it's so common that we are just a little bit more sedentary than we used to be. And because of that, that affects how we feel. Energy doesn't move in our body in the same way. And if you are sitting for long periods of time throughout the day, whether you are just doing work, you're working at your computer, you're working at your phone, if you're driving, I live in Los Angeles, and so just to get to the grocery store takes me about 12 hours. So like it's part of life in this area that you just deal with traffic. So if you're sitting for long periods of time, you're not thinking about your posture because most people do not think about their posture. Chances are you're breathing short and shallow. And so how our bodies often work between how it comes with how we hold our bodies and how stress comes in our bodies, that we know intuitively that when we're feeling stressed, it changes our breathing. That when we feel stressed, you can imagine that, which is the beauty of the ice bath component of what I do, is that it really mimics that intense stress. And so we know when people are stressed, how they breathe. Short and shallow. How does a relaxed person breathe? They breathe really full and deep. We also know intuitively, oh, you're feeling stressed. Relax, take a deep breath. And so we know intuitively that when we're feeling stressed, it changes our breathing. But we also can know that when we change our breathing, we can change how stressed we are. But so now we know taking a deeper, fuller breath will help relax the body. Then the next element of that is a lot of people don't realize how to take those fuller, deeper breaths more effortlessly within the body. If you're just listening to this at home, take a full deep breath, but also pay attention to your body. Because what most people do when they take that deep breath, they use their whole body, the shoulders come up, but that's an inefficient breath. It's not a proper way to get a full deep breath. We have these different breathing muscles in our body. You can breathe into your belly, your ribs, your back, your chest. You can really take these full deep breaths and do so very effortlessly, that you can take a long, slow, deep breath. And how we were talking before, that a thing I like to kind of bring up in my workshops is that there's this old Buddhist belief that how how we breathe is directly correlated with how long we live. And the example in the Buddhist traditions that they use is that dogs will breathe 40 to 60 times a minute, yet the turtle and tortoise will breathe once or twice a minute. And the dogs breathing 40 to 60 times a minute will often only live about 14 years, yet the turtle and tortoise breathing once or twice a minute will live well over 200 years. And so typically the ideal breathing rate for people is about 5 to 6 breaths per minute. So it's about a 5 to 6 second inhale and about a 5 to 6 second exhale. Most people breathe about 3 to 4 times as much as that they're breathing a lot more quickly, a lot more shallow in their body. And because of that, a lot of people are feeling a lot more stress than they need to feel. So it also comes into being conscious and being aware, very common within the spiritual world. In a lot of different traditions, breath and spirit are the exact same word. Prana, chi, ruach, like all these different traditions, it's the same word. It's biblical that God breathed air, breathed the breath of life into man, that it's all very connected. Also, like how we feel on the spiritual level. Are we a lot more connected? Because it is a lot harder to be connected to these higher purposes that we have when we're feeling stressed all the time. How often do we hear that people are in jobs that are out of alignment with who they are and what their purpose is, but why do they stay? Oh, I stay because of the money. Well, is it the money that you're staying for, or is it the fear that if I left this job and was not within alignment of who I am, that I won't be able to make this money? So it's a lot harder to be in that alignment with who you are, who you want to be, when you're feeling stressed all the time, which then goes back into the importance of breathing in this way. Because also it seems that it would be this self-evident thing. I don't want to feel stressed in my body, so I should learn different tools and techniques of not being as stressed in my body just because it's uncomfortable. But then you also can add all these other things, becoming more spiritually aware, aligning to your purpose, aligning to your partner differently. All these different elements all come into play with just living life and just also recognizing that how we breathe is all connected to all of it. And most people just simply aren't even aware of how they breathe, going through life on automatic pilot, on a level unconscious, and we can tap into something deeper by tapping into our breath.
Oh man, so now you guys know why I love listening to this guy, first of all. It's like soothing voice as it is, but no, the amount of knowledge that comes out, because again, I think you're right. It's funny. I think the way we breathe can almost turn itself into a habit, right? It's
Of
like you said,
course.
it's automatic. And until I started doing more breath work, I'll catch myself and I'll be like, why am I breathing like this right now? Like I need to relax. I need to, and again, I think there's a difference. I think some people are like, this was my biggest objection was like, whoa, if I relax right now, Joey, like how am I supposed to get work done? Right? Because I'm so intense about my work, but
Yeah,
it actually noticed that when I was able to relax, I'm able to do work more clear. I'm able to
yeah,
look at what I'm doing as this should be done, this shouldn't. This is when I feel like I'm stressed or not even stressed, when I'm not breathing the right way, it's almost like I caused the stress myself. Have you seen some people, as weird as this is gonna sound, that are almost addicted to the way they breathe? Does
of
that make
course.
sense? I don't know if that just thought came to my head. Now I'm wondering, like, can people be addicted to the feeling of like, oh my god, stress, oh my god, pressure, oh my god, and it's all caused internally versus actual external factors?
Yes, Tony Robbins talks about this a lot. He calls it your emotional home. Most people have, it's like a set thermostat of what your emotional home is, which is why, like, we probably all know, like, you're listening to this at home, this might also be you, but we all probably know people that, like, no matter what, they'll find a reason to be stressed. And like, there's so, like, our bodies are these amazing, like, they're these amazing machines that, like, really know how to operate at a very optimal level. And part of that is like putting a lot of things just on autopilot. Our unconscious mind takes care of like 99% of our functions. And then consciously, we're just that very tip of the iceberg. But like, as I said, that's why people do become addicted to these things, because it's just patterns. People just become familiar with these different patterns that they have. And it goes into all the different things. That is kind of also like the framework of addiction. something happens, it creates a feeling within the body, and then you respond to that feeling in the body in some kind of way, and that's what an addiction is. And so when we feel a certain way, we also breathe a certain way. So all of these different things are connected. And for whatever reason, when we're at a certain age, we find a thing that works for us in one kind of instance, and we often then just bring that about in all these other instances. So in a lot of like the personal development part of the world I am, or like the spiritual element of that, a lot of it is like finding forgiveness and all these different things, because of the fact that a lot of our actions that we take that we maybe perceive as limiting in some way was placed there for some reason. We as people adopted that behavior, adopted that way of being, adopted that reaction to these different circumstances for a reason that at one point of our life was helpful. Maybe a thing was too traumatic to actively deal with in the moment when we were a certain age, so we found a way of distracting ourselves. And now we're older and we consistently maybe deal with the same kind of thing, but instead of healthily dealing with the situation, we go to the distraction. And it's all just based on our body being very good at, okay, just put that on autopilot, put that on autopilot, put that on autopilot. And so, yeah, of course, our breathing goes into that category, and also all the different actions, how we feel in a certain category. And this is where triggers in life come to, that something happens and it reminds us of something that happened years and years ago, even unconsciously. It's not even this, oh, when you do that, that reminds me of when my parents punished me in this way. It's all very unconscious. Somebody does something and it triggers that same kind of thing from years and years ago, and then a series of behaviors come from that. As I said, breathing and how we respond from a level of stress, it's all connected.
And now, just for you guys that are listening to this, because obviously you're probably writing down, I almost encourage you guys not to write down any notes or to take anything, but most importantly, like the calmness that comes as he speaks, like hear that. That's straight breathing, right? Like I know that sounds weird to say, but uh, one, if you're listening to this at the end, like the last 10, 15 minutes, we are going to do some breath work. So make sure that you're not driving or anything like that. Make sure that you're in a quiet spot. We're going to do something small, but just so you guys can feel what breathing feels like. I know that sounds odd to say. I remember my first time. I meditated. I thought I did things right. I breathed, and man, have these breathing experiences that you put me through, Joey, have been so groundbreaking, right? Like
Mm.
I was able to tag to my past self, and then this recent time I was able to see my future self. I made a lot of peace in a lot of different areas in my life. So I really do believe that breathing is a form of healing,
Yeah,
and it has helped me learn how to react, not react actually. It showed me how not to react, and
yeah,
instead have a proactive response versus a flight, like fight or flight, like, oh my God, I'm going. So if somebody's listening to this, Joey, and they're going, I don't know, man, I don't believe it. I got a lot of things on my plate. Like I looked at my email, 10 notifications, 2 employees called in, I'm losing it. What are some small things or things that they can do in the moment that are not hard to remember, like a full session or nice, but like a whole ceremony is different than smaller things that we can practice in our everyday. What are some
yeah.
things that I can do as a business owner so that I can take control of the external that it comes towards me? What are some small things I can do?
Yeah, and so like I look at breath work as kind of like a branch of the meditation tree. And I feel that in some kind of capacity, and it can look different for everyone. For some people like me, I look at breath work as a form of meditation, and that's my meditation. For some people, it can be going on a walk and taking that time. But whatever it is for yourself, having some kind of meditative practice where it's not about getting a thing done, it's not about some kind of external goal, but it's awareness of yourself, awareness of your own thoughts, awareness of your own breathing, awareness of your own feeling, and awareness of your own patterns. Because of, as we just said, so much of what we do is based off of automatic patterns, things that we react to how like the world gives us some kind of external situation. And by having that meditative practice, you become a little bit more aware of your own patterns. And by becoming aware of your own patterns, that's when you can start to change them. Just like any kind of Alcoholics Anonymous, any kind of addiction-based program, first step is acknowledging you have a problem. If you're drinking every day and you're not like, oh, like I don't like it's not a problem, that you're at the very least, if you're not aware of it, just that unawareness, how could you help yourself fix it if you're not aware that something's happening? So having just that time for yourself, and have it be, if it's 10 minutes is a difficult amount of time, trying like a bare minimum of 10 minutes, but you can start upping it 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, because what happens is that energy ebbs and flows within our body, and being aware of, oh, like that energy kind of comes in my body. And when I feel that, ooh, I'm having this desire to check my cell phone, I'm having this desire to eat something, I'm having this desire, like whatever it is, because of that's what a lot of us do. Is we have these patterns and we react. Even if you are a hard worker, there are people that are workaholics, and that's why the the almost cliche of the entrepreneur that works hundreds of hours a week, but like has no relationship with their wife or their kids or anything like that. You're not acting from a higher place. That's an addiction. You're feeling this energy in your body and you're distracting yourself from it. And you can have all the success in the world, but if you're not feeling that inner success, then it's all pointless. You're doing all of that for nothing. And so being aware of your own patterns, being aware of, oh, like there's sometimes I'm anxious, sometimes I'm a little sad, sometimes I'm angry, being aware of these different emotions that are in your body. And then on top of that, being aware of what's my like default? What do I want to do right now? Oh, I'm feeling a little anxious. Like, where's my cell phone? I go to my cell phone when I feel a little anxious. That meditative practice will make you more and more aware of your own patterns. And immediately, as soon as you become aware of those patterns, then you can start to become aware, like, oh, is this helping me in any way? Am I distracting myself from these other things that are going on? Because you can still do all of the same physical things, but if it's coming from, I'm hiding this pattern that I don't want to see for myself, you're doing the same things for the wrong reasons, but you can still do those same external actions, but I'm passionate about my job. I'm excited to do this. And people that are in that state typically aren't absent as a father, absent as a husband, or absent in these other ways. And so I find that having that some kind of meditative practice, and it doesn't have to be sitting with your eyes closed in a dark room. It can literally be just that time you spend with yourself, really observing your thoughts, observing how you're feeling, observing your current desires, because you can start to recognize those patterns. And by recognizing them, you get that ability to start changing things that are more exciting for you.
I'm so glad you said that. Awareness is the first stage. Second, find the connections, right? I
Yeah,
I found out that whenever I used to get stressed, now I fixed it. Similar to what you said. Oh, I'm gonna find my higher self and I'm gonna just double down at work. I used to do that
yeah,
all the time. I'm stressed, double down at work. Like go make more money. And then I would catch myself in that same cycle, back to work, and I wouldn't notice that you end up missing the, oh shoot, my dogs haven't walked outside for 30 minutes for 2 weeks. Now they're getting chubby. Oh, my fiance, right? Like you don't see everything else. And it's funny. I started becoming aware. It took me to leave social media for 13 weeks to find all my triggers because I couldn't go anywhere else anymore. Right. I was just
mhm,
me, myself, and I, like nothing
yeah,
else. And you find all your triggers. And so I was like, interesting, this
yeah,
is who I currently am as a person. Like I'm a person that flights, or I'm a person that fights in these situations. This is what I do. So I'm glad that you said that, and I'm also glad that you don't have to sit there, yoga pose, eyes closed, incense on, no
yeah,
distractions for you to be meditating. I
correct.
need to say that again because a lot of people are hearing this and they're like, oh no, I'm not gonna sit there in my yoga mat. It's not that. A
Yeah,
meditation could literally be in flow, could be you walking, right?
yeah,
And so it could. I've seen people get influenced so many different situations. Just don't do it driving. Don't get don't. That's a little different. Make sure you're aware of that. No, but I absolutely love that, man. I think a lot of people don't understand how to do that, right?
yeah,
So I have to ask you. I know there's, just because of curiosity, I know there's breathing, and then I know there's also Wim Hof breathing. What
mhm.
attracted you from Wim Hof, and would you mind sharing a little bit of to these people on a little bit of Wim Hof? Nothing too much on his story, but a
Yeah.
little bit about what is the Wim Hof breathing method.
Sure. Yeah. So for me, like the excitement from just breathing in general, as you mentioned, I'm a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. My instructor, a legend of the sport named Jean-Jacques Machado, born with a kind of like deformity in his hand. So he was born with one functional hand, but was a world champion, the first person in Abu Dhabi ADCC history, which is like our Olympics, to submit all of his opponents. So he's like an all-time great of jiu-jitsu, and he also has one hand. It's not like he did great for having one hand. All-time great, also only one hand in a sport where having two hands is very beneficial. And so he learned from essentially the godfather of jiu-jitsu, Rickson Gracie. So I'm sure a lot of people know who Royce Gracie is, first UFC champion. And so the reason that the family brought Royce in to be that is because Royce is somebody that doesn't really look like he'd be a good fighter, yet somehow he was able to submit all of these different guys, and was a big selling point of jiu-jitsu from the UFC standpoint. It was this, oh wow, look at this guy that looks like he shouldn't be winning fights, winning all these different fights. But Rickson was the champion of the family, but Rickson looks like he should be this like champion. He's built very like in a certain kind of way, looks like a Greek god. And so one day Rickson Gracie came and did a seminar at our academy, taught a lot of really cool jiu-jitsu techniques, but then really broke down the importance of breathing. He actually literally just came out with a book, and the book is called Breathe. Godfather of Jiu-Jitsu makes a book called Breathe. And so like really adamant about the importance of it from a sport perspective, being able to use all these different breathing muscles so that you're literally creating a bigger gas tank. Most people, when they work on their stamina, it's like, I gotta do this all the time to make the gas tank stronger. But most people don't think, oh, I can also put more awareness into my body and use more of my existing gas tank. So from a sport perspective, and then also from that emotional perspective, being able to stay calm and stoic in these sometimes kind of feeling chaotic situations. So he talked a lot about the importance of breathing, talked a lot about his yoga instructor who taught him how to breathe, a man by the name of Orlando Connie, who was a legend in Brazil at the time, created a form of yoga called bioginastica. And so I remember thinking, man, like I'd love to learn from this Orlando Connie guy. And then 2 weeks later, essentially one of his top students, a man by the name of Marcelo Barros, was in America, needed a place to stay. And so me and my best friend who had a jiu-jitsu Airbnb, like, oh, you can stay with us for free. You're our resident yogi here. So we learned all these different breathing techniques from him. And also Rickson Gracie was a huge proponent of cold water immersion. There's this documentary with him called Choke. And while he's training for these different fights in Japan, he's in the mountains, in the water, which is freezing cold, and he's just in there, staying calm, breathing through it. And so because of that, me and my best friend, we would jump into our cold pool during winters. It'd be like 50 degrees, and we would jump in. We'd see how long we can last. We would just white knuckle it. And first it was jump in, jump out. Then it was like, all right, let's see if we can stay in for 10 seconds. All right, let's do 20 seconds, 30 seconds, a minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. But the whole time just white knuckling it, like, just miserable the whole time. And then we saw a documentary on Wim Hof. It was the Vice documentary. Phenomenal thing. And because it shows that Wim was doing essentially what we were doing, using these different breathing techniques, using the cold water immersion, using his breathing to stay calm in these freezing cold temperatures. And I remember it just resonating with me so much. And it wasn't even just that he was able to do all these amazing things and that he was bringing it to science, but that he was able to bring on all these kind of like regular people that on the Vice documentary, the power of it isn't that Wim who has all these world records and has done these amazing feats with his body is doing these things, but he's bringing the reporter who, like, not to be mean, but is kind of like a nerdy kind of regular guy that you would never expect being able to do kind of some of these things that he does in the documentary, but you see him jumping into the freezing cold water and staying completely calm. And so really seeing that you can, in a way, just like in jiu-jitsu, you learn these different techniques and all of a sudden you can do these things that you're like, hey, I'm just a regular guy, but I can submit all my opponents in the UFC that with like the cold water immersion. Hey, I'm just a regular person, but I'm applying these different techniques of my breathing, these different techniques of tuning into my interoceptive awareness, relaxing my body. And even going into something like an ice bath, something that you figure would put your body into a fight or flight state, but you can take direct control, tune into your breathing, tune into where am I holding on to stress in my body, and actively be even more relaxed inside the ice bath than outside of it. And so then you can immediately see real world implications of that. If I can stay calm in something that should put my body into a full on panic, well, then I can probably use the same technique if I'm feeling a little stressed, writing emails. If I'm feeling a little stressed, sitting in traffic. If I'm feeling a little stressed, dealing with a difficult challenge at work, that you can use this kind of interoceptive awareness. Oh, where am I holding on to tension in my body? Can I relax that? As well as how am I breathing right now? Am I taking these short, shallow breaths? Let me breathe a little bit more fully into my body using these different breathing muscles without forcing it, and allow myself to feel more relaxed in my body when sometimes my body's feeling a little bit of uncomfortable energy, a little anxiety, a little
Mm-hmm.
sadness, a little anger, any of these different perceived negative emotions.
I think what you said right there, well, all of it, what you said was amazing. But the one thing is, even where you can feel the stress, even your body can feel the stress, right? Like the
Yeah.
pressure, your mind can take full control. Like you, it's crazy to think that we legit have control of how we feel, what we give it, like what we give something to, right? Like even if you're feeling stressed out, if you're feeling even tired, sometimes I've just felt tired or too
Mm-hmm.
energetic, and then I
Yeah.
breathe, and poof, I'm able to control. I 2 years ago, 3 years ago almost, I was told I have type 2 diabetes, right? When,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you look at me, there's nothing that tells you I have type 2 diabetes. I guess I had a bad diet or something. But I remember I would put on the little thing, right? The little thing that tells you your points and where your glucose levels are. And I remember doing breathing that you have introduced me to. And I was like, I wonder. So I'm always like looking at the points and I'm going, oh my God, I have to like go sprint to bring my sugar level down or my glucose levels down, right? I need
Mm-hmm.
to test it with this. So funny, I was at the gym and I went and did Wim Hof. So I went to the yoga part. I took it. I was at 128, right? 128. And I was like, let's see what happens. I don't know what's gonna happen, but I'm gonna set my intention on lowering my glucose level. I'm gonna breathe through the Wim Hof. I did a 15-minute Wim Hof, nothing crazy. I think it was 3 rounds. I
Mm-hmm.
looked at my thing. I it was 108 in
Wow.
15 minutes. I can't even do
Yeah.
that running. I can't do that running.
Yeah.
Like that would take me a lot, and I would be so tired, agitated, made me probably want to eat something. I did the Wim Hof. I brought down 20 points in 15 minutes. That's a point. That's close to a point a minute, or a little more. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And so breathing can be also good for your own health. Like outside of just stress, if you're diabetic, I would encourage you breathe. I know that sounds weird. So let me ask you before we go into, you know, the exercise of breathing here so that anybody, I mean, if you're here just, again, don't be driving. I know a lot of you love to listen to podcasts driving, or if you're at the gym, don't be working out, right?
Mhm.
Because take advantage of it. But before we do that, Joey, if I'm an entrepreneur, what what are some signs that I need to look into where I'm probably a little too deep into the stress world where I'm like probably losing myself at this point? What advice would you bring them to? So, what signs that they're a little too much to the right, on stress and not being themselves, and what can they do to slowly start bringing themselves back? What are something that you would advise them?
Well, I mean, like number one sign, the thing that like we all kind of intuitively know but don't talk about, sleep. Like, how are you sleeping? Is your sleep cycle? Are you going to bed crazy late? Are you waking up crazy early? And people require different amounts of sleep, so it's not even about the hours. But like for you personally, if someone said like, "How did you sleep last night? How do you feel?" And you're like, "Man, I'm just exhausted." That's number one. Like, are you having trouble turning off because of someone kind of in those healthy flows? Knows how, like, okay, it's time to work, and while I'm here, I'm fully present, I'm giving my all, and then there should be a time to be able to turn off and be able to be like, okay, it's time to tune into a different phase of life. And also, so sleep is one. Like the relationships with the people closest to you, are you fighting with your partner all of the time, or do you feel it's like a pretty it's a pretty harmonious relationship? Do you feel that, yeah, like, are you constantly missing things of your children or anything like that. But then also, like, how do you feel? Like when we're stressed, we know we're stressed. Yes, there's also elements of I'm so on autopilot that I'm not taking this time. But if you ask yourself, do I feel stressed in my body? And if your answer is like, oh yeah, like, oh, that's your answer right there. You don't need to really look too much deeper than that. Of, oh yeah, I'm crazy stressed. Because of, once again, I mentioned we're in the amazingness of the 21st century, and most of us aren't dealing with things that are really that stressful. I get it that there really is, like within my business, am I making money? I have a family, all of these different things. But also, like, the things that you can deal with as a person can go pretty intense, and most of us don't deal with that pretty intense. Most of us aren't dealing with life or death situations on a day-to-day basis. Most of us aren't dealing with active, insane amounts of poverty on a day-to-day basis. Our bodies sometimes tell us that kind of stuff is happening, but the reality is not that. A lot of that reality within our body of just feeling that stress is our own not kind of managing how are we breathing, how are we sleeping, how are we eating, all of these different things. But I do feel something like breathing is something that you can tune into immediately. You can change your diet in these different ways, but it does, like, oh, when I'm eating, what food am I bringing in? Am I hydrating enough? All these other things, literally with breathing at any given second. Right now, whatever you're doing, you can change how you're breathing. You can tune in a little bit more to how you're breathing, that it doesn't have to be, all right, tonight I'm going to try to sleep at a different time and try to wake. You don't have to do any of that with breathing. When it comes to your breathing right this moment, you can tune in. You can still be even writing that email, dealing with whatever external circumstance you're dealing with, but at the same time, how am I breathing right now? Oh, I'm noticing I'm like breathing in and out through my mouth. Oh my, all my breath is coming in my chest. Oh, I'm taking what feels like 15 or 20 breaths a minute. Slow it down. You can still do all the other thing, but you can also still writing the email, still looking at the phone call, still listening to the other person, and still, and then I'm even doing it exaggerated because we're on the phone call, but you can tune in a little bit more because of how we're feeling internally is what we create externally. So if you're feeling stressed in your body and you're trying to eliminate that stress externally, I'm worried about money, so I got to do all these money things. That's the kind of, like, the, once again, the cliche of the multimillionaire who's still stressed about money, who's still in his body in the same place of when they were crazy poor. But when you're feeling calmer, more relaxed in your body, that you're going to make different choices and you're going to feel differently about those different choices. And so it is a thing that you can immediately tune into, that you can immediately change and do a little bit more consciously. And so, yeah, like it's not hard to know when we're stressed, that it isn't this thing that comes in under the radar. We know, but it does take that
Agree.
moment of just, like, the honest, like, the truth is, the easy answer to that question, how do they know? Ask yourself. Am I feeling
Yeah.
like, am I overstressed right now? Am I putting too much time and effort into things that in the scheme of things don't matter? As I said, like, it's important to work hard on your business, but if your marriage is falling apart, if your children, like, don't look up to you, if they don't have a relationship with you, like, why are you doing what you're doing? You can always ask, like,
100%.
am I taking this too far in this direction? And you're going to know the answer to that question.
I think what you, every time your advice is always so simple, but because it's so true, right? Like, ask yourself. That is
Yeah,
so true. Like, just ask yourself, and and I think you're right. I know you're right. When you know you're stressed, you know you're stressed. If you know,
yeah,
you could tell. If you think your marriage is falling apart, it's probably because it's falling apart. If you don't
yeah,
feel your kids respect you, it's probably because it's true. Like, it's not rocket science. The issue is, back to what you had said initially, is, are you taking a small little portion of your time, a 10-minute time, where you can be aware of what's going on. Like, every time I
yeah,
breathe, I realize, like, oh, this is what's actually happening. It's not the money issue. It's the fact that I'm doing this. It's not that I'm not getting enough work done. It's that when I am at work, I'm looking at all these 10 different stressors. Therefore, I can't even focus. This should take me 30 minutes. And that that I love. So everybody that's listening to this, just ask yourself, am I working towards my goal and my higher level self, or am I just hiding behind work? Right? Or vice versa. Am I saying that my marriage needs all the attention, or are you just putting it there to not face the reality of everything else that is going on? So allow yourself to use this podcast, at least this episode, to ask those tough questions. And when you ask it, here's what's gonna happen. You're probably gonna start breathing wrong, and you're gonna go, "Oh my God, oh no, here we go." So as we're leading into that, Joey, I would love if you could, you know, free reign, man, as long as you want. But if you want to take the next 10 minutes for whoever's listening, if you don't mind just showing us quick little exercise on breathing, and
Yeah,
make sure that, let's do it this way. Ask yourself that question. Ask
yeah. Like
yourself
I
if
also,
you're feeling stressed, and I'll let you do your thing here, Joey.
yeah, I love that. And like, I'll kind of just piggyback like one more point before even getting into the
Please,
breath,
please.
because somebody asked me recently, like, why the ice bath? Why do I do ice baths all the time? And there's the physical component of like, as far as the health goes, it reduces inflammation. It's great for your cardiovascular system. It's great for your immune system. It's great for all these different things. Well, why don't other people do it all the time? Well, because it's uncomfortable. And the truth is, I love doing the ice bath because it's uncomfortable. Because I feel that everything in life worth having, you have to go through a zone of discomfort. You want to change any habit in life, you have to go through a zone of discomfort. If you want to ask yourself the tough questions and get the honest answer, you have to go through that zone of discomfort. You have to, oh man, I'm really not paying attention to my health, to my spouse, to my kids, to my work, whatever it is for you. You really have to tune in. And like the answer is like, oh man, that doesn't feel good for a split moment. And I feel the way that we can also get through that little zone of discomfort, because on the other end of that zone of discomfort is something great. In order to get to the something great, you have to go through the zone of discomfort. How do I manage my way through that zone of discomfort? You focus on your breathing. You focus on your breathing and you actively relax your body. And so, with that being said, I'm going to invite everyone for right now, just for the next few moments, to allow this to be a meditation. Allow yourself to close your eyes and allow yourself just to breathe normally, just for a few moments. Really being aware. Am I breathing through my mouth? Am I breathing through my nose? Where's my breath going in my body? Is it going throughout my belly, ribs, back, chest, or is it just maybe in my chest a little bit? Just, you'll know, am I breathing fully and deeply? Am I breathing short and shallow? And not influencing it for right now. Just right now, bringing the awareness to how you're breathing. And once you have a little bit of a grasp on that, allowing yourself to expand on that awareness a little bit more. Being aware how you're breathing. And being aware, oh, am I holding on to tension in my shoulders? Can I relax that a little bit more? Is it in my belly? Can I relax that? And is it my fingers? It's really doing a little bit of an internal body scan. Fingers, toes, hands, feet, arms, legs, torso, neck, head. Just releasing everything. Fully relaxing the body. And once you have a little bit of a grasp on that, tuning in to the other senses as well. Really allowing yourself to be as fully present to the space around you as physically possible. Noticing any subtle sounds, smells, noticing any taste in your mouth. Being aware of maybe the clothes on your body, in the chair, couch, bed, floor. You're becoming fully present to this moment, and then expanding that even more, noticing the thoughts passing through your mind. Don't judge them, don't engage with them, don't attach to them. Being the space, being that impartial observer as those thoughts pass on through the mind. And just noticing them, and as you notice each thought passing through without judging it, once again, tuning back into the body as well. How does every thought that comes through impact your body? How do the feelings inside of your body right now impact the thoughts that you're thinking in your mind? As you allow yourself to become a little bit more fully present to this moment, I'm also going to invite you to take your hands, and you can place one on your belly, one on your chest. And we're going to breathe in through the nose. We're going to breathe out through the mouth. And for right now, as you breathe in through the nose, don't force it. You don't have to do it hard or intense. Just breathing in gently through the nose and keeping the chest, shoulders, and back fully relaxed. And trying to only fill up your belly. So we're only going to utilize the diaphragm breathing muscle for right now. A gentle inhale through the nose, feeling just the belly fully expand. And then on the exhale, giving a gentle squeeze of the belly. It's going to help the diaphragm relax and allow us to get a full deep exhale from the core out through the mouth. It's going to be these full deep exhales that really allow the body to fully relax. And you can take the hand that's on the belly and you can put a little bit more pressure there. If you're having difficulty in only filling up the belly, you'll notice that little bit of resistance should really help the body find where to bring that breath. And with the primary focus on filling up the belly, having that secondary or peripheral awareness throughout the body, fully relaxing the fingers, toes, hands, feet, the arms, legs, torso, neck, and head. Finding full surrender within the body. Now we'll just move that breath. Now just gently inhaling through the nose and now trying to only fill up the breathing muscles in the chest. So now not using the belly, keeping the shoulders and back fully relaxed. You should notice that this breath even feels a little different. On the exhale, a gentle squeeze of the belly, getting that full deep exhale from the core out through the mouth. Same as before, you can take the hand on the chest, you can put a little more pressure there. You'll notice that little bit of resistance will help the body find where to bring that breath. On that exhale, still giving a gentle squeeze of the belly, getting that full, deep exhale. Always keeping the peripheral awareness throughout the body, fully relaxing those fingers, toes, hands, feet, the arms, legs, torso, neck, and head. Now we just combine these different areas. So for now, you can do this in one of two ways. You can do it as 2 inhales or 1, but gently inhaling through the nose, feeling the belly fully expand, and then either doing an additional inhale or continuing the inhale, filling up the chest, and gently squeezing the belly, allowing for a full, deep exhale from the core, out through the mouth. Starting to notice more and more that you don't need to use a lot of force or effort on any of these breaths. Keeping the body completely relaxed, completely surrendered. And noticing that you don't need to force this in any way. Filling up the belly, filling up the chest, gently squeezing the belly, getting a full, deep exhale. Keeping the rest of the body fully relaxed, fully surrendered, constantly bringing that awareness throughout the body, doing an internal body scan, keeping everything completely relaxed. And awesome, we can move our hands from the belly and chest, kind of creating the letter C with those hands, grabbing the sides of your rib cage as we use these intercostal muscles. Just like before, gentle inhale through the nose, feeling the body opening up horizontally, feeling those individual ribs opening up from one another, gently squeezing the belly, getting that full, deep exhale from the core, out through the mouth. Using the hands that are on the ribs as that external guidepost. You can always place a little more pressure on those hands, on the ribs, just to help the body find where to bring that breath. Feeling the body open horizontally, feeling those individual ribs opening up from one another. Gently squeezing the belly, getting that full, deep exhale. Keeping the rest of the body fully relaxed, fully surrendered. We'll just isolate one more set of breathing muscles, gently inhaling through the nose, feeling the breathing muscles in the back fully expand. And so for this, we won't have our hands as that external guidepost. So really tuning in to that interoceptive awareness, gently inhaling through the nose, feeling that back, expanding off the bed, couch, chair, floor, whatever that back is up against. Gently squeezing that belly, allowing for that full, deep exhale from the core out through the mouth. Keeping more of that awareness within the body, allowing just everything to release, relax, surrender. And following that path of the breath within the body, kind of combining as you inhale through the nose, feeling the back fully expand. Gentle squeeze of the belly, getting that full, deep exhale. And perfect. Now just putting all of those pieces together. So just envisioning your lung capacity like an empty container. With every inhale, filling up the belly, ribs, back, chest. This will go back to what I was saying earlier, that you don't need to use a lot of force or effort on any of these breaths. That you can get a full, deep breath with less effort and just more awareness. Gently through the nose, filling up the belly, ribs, back, and chest. Gently squeezing that belly, getting that full, deep exhale from the core out through the mouth. And this is where we want to try to create those ideal breathing patterns, creating that 5 to 6 second inhale, that 5 to 6 second exhale, getting that 5 to 6 breaths per minute. Remembering the Buddhist belief of how many breaths we take, correlating to how long we live, and really connecting to the spirit of the turtle and the tortoise, trying to breathe as few times as possible, getting the most out of every breath. Perfect. Now not putting any more effort into your breathing. So what we were just doing is called conscious breathing, where you actively take the wheel and breathe into your body in a particular way. And now it's going to breath awareness, allowing the body to breathe as the body breathes. And just being aware, not judging that breath in any way, allowing the body to go completely on autopilot. It's being fully aware of that breath within the body. Slowly expanding that awareness, bringing the rest of the body to the equation, fully relaxing in the fingers, toes, hands, feet, the arms, legs, torso, neck, and head. Fully relaxing, fully surrendering. Expanding that awareness even more, noticing any subtle sounds, smells, tastes, anything touching your body. Once again, being aware of the thoughts in your mind, without judgment, attachment, engagement, just letting them pass on through. Being aware of the mind-body connection, how every thought creates different feelings in the body, how those different feelings create different thoughts. tuning in a little more and just feeling your heart beating within your chest. You can tune in even deeper, noticing all the different emotions that are currently present. This isn't about eliminating those emotions, it's about being able to experience them from a different perspective. There's a different experience in the body of I'm anxious, or oh, there's anxiety in my body. I'm just taking on that perspective of an outsider looking in and just being aware of the feelings and sensations within your body. Seeing if you can actively be aware of the physical sensations of those different emotions as well. What does happy feel like in the body? What does sad feel like? Anxious, angry, calm. What do these things feel like in the body? Where in your body do you feel them? What do they physically feel like? How do they interact within the body? How do they make your body breathe? How do they make your heart beat? Keeping that awareness within the body as you just gently come back into your body and the space around you. You can wiggle your fingers, toes, hands, feet, the arms, legs. And you can stretch your back out by reaching up. If you're laying down, you can bring your knees to your chest, going side to side. And just gently sitting back up. You can keep your eyes closed for another few moments, feeling those different sensations in your body. Whenever you're ready, you can gently open your eyes, coming back into the space around you. Notice maybe like 10 to 12 minutes right there. And even like noticing, even just in listening to the podcast, that the energy can totally transform. That you can tune into yourself in a little bit of a different way that allows you to feel differently. And then you're also going to notice that the choices you make from this place will be different. The things that you say to people from this place will be different, will create a whole different energy dynamic in what it is you want to create. And, it all starts with just here. There's an Abraham Lincoln quote I often use during these times because of, especially entrepreneurs can look at this kind of time as not productive. I'm not doing anything. But Abraham Lincoln has this quote I absolutely love of, if you give me 5 hours to chop down a tree, I'll spend the first three sharpening the axe. And I do feel that in these times in meditation, it's us sharpening the axe. We change how we interact with those around us. We change how we react to stressful situations. And I do feel deep down in my heart that this work is some of the most productive things that we can be doing.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you already, my energy feels different. And showing up into, so I have a team meeting, and then we have a training we're hosting. Um, Different energy I'm gonna come into, right? Different energy. And I think I love how you say it, like, yeah, man, I love this stuff. I think, during that moment we were doing it, it slows down time almost, right? And you have
Yeah,
control of what's next. I think that's such an underrated skill, right? We think we're always moving forward because we're doing things and because we're quote unquote moving. But it's
yeah,
almost like the guy in the pool. I keep thinking like if a dog swims in the pool, it's like constant paddling and it moves really, really short. And the guy that just floats on top of the water eventually gets to the end with no effort.
yeah,
And I think that's what I'm thinking right now. And if you took advantage of this podcast and did some breathing here, you'll see the difference. If not, go ahead and replay it and do it. Let me ask you, Joey, last thing here is, how do people connect with you? How do people find out they're sitting here like, oh my God, I've never felt this at peace. I've never, right now, like I could go hug my fiance and it'll come from a place of love, not a place of like, I'm just gonna hug you, right? It's
yeah.
much, much different. Um, how do people find out more about you? How can they connect with you, or where can they follow you? I'll make sure I put everything down here on show notes.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I make it very easy to find me. My first name, last name, Joey, Joey, last name, Hauss. That is my Instagram handle. That is my YouTube channel. That's my website, joeyhouse.com. Yeah, my email address, joey@joeyhouse.com. But yeah, it's Hauss, like the German spelling of house with an additional S. And yeah, and then we have our app, which is going to be coming out soon, Breath House, spelled the same way. But yeah, as far as like any of the breathwork stuff, even just on my website, we do twice live calls as well as have an online library of different breathwork, and always kind of adding to it, incorporating guided meditations, all that good stuff. But yeah, then we have 2 live calls per week. I'm always doing events, and you can check out all of that on the website, joeyhouse.com.
Well, check out the show notes, guys. Again, Joey, it's always a pleasure to have you, man. And it's honestly been one of the best things I've done for my business is listen to your guidance when it comes down to breathing. One of the best things I've done for my life. So I wanted to finally share to the world and to the people that we serve the person that that has been super great and so transformational in what we do. So definitely appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for being here. It's been a pleasure to have you. And if you do reach out to Joey and you heard him from the podcast, let me know and we'll have a little surprise for you. Okay, so thank you so much, Joey, for being here.
Yeah, Angel, thank you for having me on.